A.J. Brown making headlines this week. He had that cryptic post on X implying his frustration with his lack of involvement in the offense. That post since deleted. Against the Bucs, we know Brown had 2 catches, 7 yards. Though the Eagles still won the game to go on to the season 4-0 on the season. Let's hear from Brown yesterday.
I don't think it's a bad thing for wanting the ball. It's not just for targets or anything to put numbers up. But no, I see that that we're struggling, and I'm a guy that wants the ball in those times when we can't find a way. Give it to me. Like when the game's on the line, give the ball to me. I want that. I want that pressure. I put it on myself, and I work hard for it. Fortunately, I did it to myself. I won't even say unfortunately, I did it to myself. But this is my home, man. I love it here, But you just see frustration because obviously, we want to be great. And most definitely, I want to be great as well.
So, Stephen A., you hear how he took accountability for his frustration. He said, put it on me. Does this put an end to any of the questions about A.J. Brown wanting to be in Philly?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Because he's in Philadelphia. I can't speak. I'm proud to have these two brothers who's going to break it down for me from a football perspective. I'm media. I know Philly. I worked in Philly for 17 years. You understand? I ain't asking. That I'm an expert on. It ain't going in. It ain't going in. It's Philadelphia. Period. That's literally the simplest answer that you could give. I want to say this, though. Where I was really interested in broaching this subject with y'all was because of what Drew Brees came on this show and said too. He pointed out how in the second half they targeted A.J. Brown throughout the game, but especially in the second half. They went 0 for 8, didn't complete a pass, 0 yards by Jalen Hurts. Drew Brees intimated that part of the issue was they were trying to get him the ball instead of just playing within the natural, normal flow of their offense. This is what he said, not me. So I wanted to go first on this matter because I wanted to pass the baton to y'all by simply asking the question, is Drew Brees correct when he pointed to the fact that, look, it's not like he's not being targeted. He was targeted. He has been targeted. And this notion that he hasn't been targeted is not accurate.
Okay, yeah, so one, I love A.J. Brown, and I love his comments there at the press conference. And that is a great problem to have if that's the problem in Philadelphia, that you have a dog at wide receiver that wants the ball. So in relation to Drew and on the football perspective, I would tell you this. I think what's going on with A.J. Brown and what they're asking him to do feels high schoolish when it comes to the routes. A.J. Brown, if you asked me what his routes look like, I would kind of just do this. His routes are basically straight lines. He runs go routes. He runs stop routes. There's an occasional slant or in-breaker at 5 yards. I just believe he's way, way, way too good of a player than to do that. So there's
to do what?
To do those basic routes.
Got it.
Okay? There's an elementary element to that. These defenses are good. They're smart. They know what he's doing too. So there's one. I think number two, Jalen Hurts has become a very risk-averse quarterback. And I don't want that to come off in a negative fashion. He's just become a quarterback that's I'm not putting the ball at harm's way really ever. And so some of the throws that we watch to AJ, you would sit there and go, give AJ Brown a chance here. Give him that opportunity ball. And Jalen used to. He's not doing that right now. Some of those throws down the field that land essentially out of bounds, everybody would sit there and go, give him a chance to make that catch. But Jalen's no, that's just not the style of quarterback Jalen is right now. And I would sit there and go, I can't argue it against it. They've won 20 out of 21, right? And so you always want to get your guys the ball. So I think that's the right thing to do. I just think there needs to be a lot more variance in what they're asking AJ to do. He's way too talented of a player than just to sit there and go, you just run fast.
So to Stephen A's point, the math that you brought up with Drew Brees, it adds up here. He was targeted on 30% of his team targets this season. That's the 6th most in the NFL. So it's not like he's not being targeted. No. But RC, this makes me think about what happened last year. Remember the whole passing comment after the Washington game? What happens in that Steelers game? Jalen Hurts forcing the ball to A.J. Brown. They score on that first touchdown. That's where the whole my prerogative thing came from. Do they play it the same way against the Broncos this week?
No. I'm going to answer some other questions first.
Okay.
He said if you're not welcomed, he's extremely welcomed. We mentioned that with the targets. I don't know if he's listened to. What he didn't do was quietly withdraw. right? What he did do was make a scene, right? And when you shrug your shoulders and you walk away, then you're being immature, right? That's the truth of it. Now, his press conference that we saw yesterday, that was maturity, right? That was accountability. That's who I believe A.J. Brown is. In other parts of his life, he's like me. He's a person with poor impulse control when I'm frustrated and disrespected. Like, I get it, right? Like, I'm the same dude that went to Washington in my last year and thought it was gonna be a certain offer and it wasn't, and on the plane tweeted about it. That was stupid, but that was me. That was how I felt, right? I'm the same person that if something happens to me while we're on air, I may not address it there, I may not address it on the commercial, but I'm probably gonna call you at some point because I can't let it go. That's who A.J. Brown is. So when you ask me, is this the last time we hear from him, or is this thing put to bed? Absolutely not, because we are who we are. Now, the thing I've grown to do is I'm just tired of fighting. Maybe A.J. Brown gets tired of fighting. Maybe A.J. Brown just says, I want to go do the work. Maybe A.J. Brown says, it's okay if I don't contribute. I can't see that happening because that man is all boy dog. So what's the answer? Kevin Patullo has to be better. And we haven't talked about him and we haven't mentioned him a lot, but everything Dan said is right. I literally watched the game on the TV copy and I see off coverage and I go, hitch.
You know what the route is going to be.
I see blitz and I go, side adjust, slant, skinny, right? I see off coverage and I look at the down and distance and I say double move, right? I see press and I say go ball. If I'm seeing that and I don't watch their games to know that, the other team knows as well. They have to improve on that. It's not the targets, it's the type of targets, and they have to find out how to make plays.
Before you go, the one thing that I would add, however, is that it's a new offensive coordinator.
Yes.
So it's a new offensive coordinator. When we're talking about maturity when it comes to A.J. Brown, you might talk about your impulses or whatever, but the facts are the facts. You might feel a certain way, and then you might deduce how you should react in the moment or whatever. But when the facts are the facts, you're not going to ignore them. A lot of times with a lot of professional athletes, what we're seeing in this day and age is that they're ignoring the facts and allowing their feelings to usurp the facts that are out there. If you see what you see and the opposition sees what it sees, but you know that you've still been targeted 30% of the time, yet you still elect to react that way, now all of a sudden, to point to D.O.'s part, a Jalen Hurts or somebody else might get an attitude because they know what it is just like they know you know what it is.
Yeah.
So they're looking at you and they're saying, if you know what it is, why are you tripping?
Yeah.
And why are you putting us in a position where we have to defend ourselves when you know what the facts are? That's where it gets dicey. If you don't know, you don't know. And somebody could, tug you and be like, come on, man, here's what the deal is. Let's be cool. That's different.